In this tutorial, I'm going to demonstrate how to do space using Dyrii, a journaling app for the Mac, iPad, and iPhone. I'll be using the Mac version of Dyrii, but the process is almost identical on the iPad and iPhone version of Dyrii. Okay, let's create a scenario. I want you to imagine that tonight, yes, just in a few hours, you're going to ask your partner to marry you. And then, bam, you start feeling queasy. Maybe you're anxious. Your mind races with worst-case scenarios and catastrophic thinking. What if she's the wrong partner? What about that huge fight we had last weekend? On and on and on, monkey mind. To bring some clarity to the situation, I want you to open up a space template in Dyrii. Now, how do you do this? You open Dyrii on your Mac. You go to File and create a new post. Now, go to the upper right-hand corner and choose Use Template. You're going to choose the template called Making Space. In the right-hand column, we've included some basic instructions for you to review, as well as a sample completed space worksheet. Okay, now choose Use This Template, and there you go. So here we are. We are in the space worksheet. Space begins with the letter S for situation. You're going to describe in detail what is happening right now, and you're going to separate your feelings from your thinking. So A, what are you feeling? Perhaps you're anxious, you're worried, you're scared. B, what's going on? You don't want to answer why you're feeling scared or anxious. You want to stick to the facts: what, who, where, how. So for example, it's 3:30 p.m. and I'm sitting in my office. I'm by myself and going over and over in my head if I'm making the right decision tonight. C, why is this important to you right now? This is where you're going to include relevant details from your past, perhaps something from your family history about why this situation is causing you some issues or why it's important to you. So something like, my dad and mom divorced when I was 14, and my dad warned me to be very careful about choosing the wrong partner. I've always been anxious about this, and I wonder if my current anxiety is a sign that I'm about to marry the wrong person. 2, principles and values. What values matter most to you in this specific situation? So this is sort of what your best self stands for given this scenario, not your general worldview and your general principles and values. So for this specific situation, it might sound something like honesty, adventure, family, marriage. And then you turn those values into I statements. I stand for truth, even if my feelings suggest otherwise. I seek out adventure, even when I'm scared. I want to get married. 3, A, for actions and alternatives. In general, when you get anxious, specifically in this scenario, it would be some sort of a commitment issue. What is your general automatic reaction? So in this case, it might be, I listen to my anxiety and delay the things that I'm frightened to do. This is what you usually do. Now here's the key. B, what are some alternatives that might better reflect your principles, the principles you laid out in step 2? So these alternative actions should feel like a stretch for you. They shouldn't be so comfortable, but they are tied to your higher thinking. So number 1, have a discussion with my partner and let her know how I'm feeling. 2, I'm going to go ahead with my proposal regardless of my anxious feelings. 3, I'm going to end the relationship and find somebody else that doesn't make me feel so anxious. And then you pick one, you circle it or you underline it, and that is the action step that you're committed to do. 4, centering. This is where you check in with yourself in however you regulate your own anxiety. Some people exercise, some people meditate. We have a number of suggestions in our workbook of ways to regulate one's anxiety. The important thing is you want to check in with yourself and see how you've been doing this past week or the past few days. If you're going through the flu, you have a cold, you might not be operating at your best self, and that's important to know for this process. So here would be, I will go to the gym after work and try and burn off some of the stress and hopefully clear my head. Evaluate. Once you do the action step that you've committed to do, you come back to your space sheet, grab a coffee, sit in a quiet place, and you answer some of these questions. how closely did your action reflect your stated principles? And the goal here is not to beat yourself up, but to give yourself some credit for going through with this process. Did anything surprise you? Are there things that you would do differently now that you have this information? So you might write something like, I didn't allow my feelings to bully me into making a rash decision. After working out, I decided to go ahead and propose to my partner. Surprisingly, I'm calm. I'm even relieved that I followed through with this. After the proposal, my partner shared that she was also quite anxious about this. And I was shocked by this because I thought I was the only one going through these ambivalent feelings. I need to remember that whenever I'm about to make a major decision, fear is part of the process, and that fear alone does not necessarily mean that I'm making the wrong decision. And that's it. Your space plan is done. We suggest filing these in Dyrii. If you're doing this by paper and pen, you might want to put it in a folder. One of the nice features about Dyrii is the ability to title each of your journal entries. In this case, you might give this space sheet a title of proposal or marriage proposal. This will allow you over time to look back on your space plans to see how you're doing, how well aligned your actions are to your higher values and principles. So that's a quick overview of how to use the space template on Dyrii. If you have any questions or feedback to share, please visit www.morethanlove.ca. You can go to the contact page and send me an email.